Here I'm going to do an over-the-shoulder backlink outreach campaign, and my goal for this campaign is to get backlinks from where my competitors are getting their backlinks. An initial goal is I want to build links from articles that talk about cold email software. And if they list a tool, I also want to be listed there as an example. So step number one, what tools do you need to run the process that I'm about to run? Just two tools. You need Ahrefs and you need Linkio. Campaign step number one, what's the goal? I just said it, but to be more specific, I want to, if a blog links to my competitor's homepage, I also want a link to my homepage from that page. And I'm going to choose a competitor, GMass as an example. Why? Because they're established and they've got a lot of links, over 2,000 referring domains. So step number one is I'm going to import GMass into Linkio. I'm going to add them as a brand. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want Linkio to analyze all of their homepage links. So once I add the brand, I go to add new pages, and I've imported the homepage, all right? And I did that about 10 minutes ago. And what Linkio is doing now is it's just crawling and index checking all of the homepage backlinks. The reason why I do this step first is because, a big competitor like this, they have 1,000+ links to their homepage. However, I only care about the links that are from blogs, that are do follow, and that are indexed in Google. So this first step is going to crawl and index check each link. And when I export this out of the system, I'm just going to focus on those 50% of the links. So the goal now for the next couple steps is just to cut down the size of the list and make it more manageable so that when it's time to kind of get granular on each opportunity, I just focus on the ones that are most likely to be candidates for outreach. So I'm going to pause this video. You can see this thing is moving fast. So once it's done processing, it's got about 1,000 more to go. I will resume it. All right, we're back. And this process is done. Overall, it's crawled about 1,000 links and it found 800 of them live. However, only 416 are do follow and indexed. So now we can see what those sites are. And we know what anchor text they're using in the categorization. So when I'm trying to do homepage link building, I like to find the ones that are brand name mentions only. And especially when it comes to like businesses that understand SEO and marketing, I get a sense if they're using exact match keywords in their homepage links. Chances are these are their paid links. And a lot of paid links can be a part of like guest posting farms. So I'm not super interested in spending a lot of time on those. So why don't we go ahead and export this to a CSV. And yeah, you can see that this is pretty much kind of a mom blog talking about mass emailing, and maybe that's fine. Maybe that's totally fine. But a lot of these blogs can be lower quality. Anyway, let's open the document that we have. I'm going to activate some filters here. So select all, go to data, create filters. Step number one, anything that's not included, I'm going to filter by those and delete them. This means that they're no follow or they're not indexed in Google. And for this campaign, I just care about the follow links. And if there's kind of blanks, there could have been a crawler error. Let's just focus on the successful backlinks. So here we go. And I'll do one more round of filtering here. So now we have all the do follows, all the Google indexed. This gives us 386 potential prospects. Next, I'm going to bring these into our link prospecting bulk filtering email finding tool. Now this is the beta tool. I've been using it for back-end internal stuff, but I think it'll be interesting to show you in general how we get this thing to work. So I'm going to create this campaign. We've imported 386 links. Step number 1, I'm going to do some raw filtering. So this means I want to remove duplicates, remove anything that looks potentially spammy. I want to focus on English-speaking countries' websites only at the moment. So that means we take the non-English TLDs and do some bulk removals potentially. I might leave sites like .india, .ly, .st, because oftentimes those are also associated with they're associated with English-speaking sites. Anything that's .gov, .edu, I'm interested in getting rid of. And then the lower quality generic TLDs, .biz, .info, mobi, XYZ. This gives us 36 potential sites to remove. And you can review them by hand to see if there's anything that looks interesting to keep. Like I would probably keep this one. Yeah, and the rest of these, they look lower quality. So that's it. I also want to focus on, sites that are obtainable. So if it's a super high domain authority, I think we'll have trouble getting links from them. So here's looking at Ahrefs top 1,000,000. I filtered by anything that's in the top 10,000, and that gives us some high-end sites that we can remove. Now, I also just want to focus on blogs. So there's tons of different sites that show up on these outreach lists that are not blogs. And here's a few of them here. So it's easy to get rid of those. But what I also want to do is remove domains that I already have backlinks from. So if you're monitoring your backlinks through Linkio, you could easily go in and export a list of links or do it through Ahrefs, same kind of thing. I'm going to paste it in as custom sites. And let's try that one more time. And that gives us 35 entries to remove. So again, now we're just saving time. And then I'm also going to filter by domain string. So let's remove community, resource, dev. Yeah, so one is a staging site, one is a kind of like a forum. Would it make sense to email those? And then finally, I would go with the potential to remove sites because they're like generic pages or forums. You see, we've identified a few of them pretty easily. The other thing I might want to remove is sites that specifically have GMAS in the URL, because if it's just if it's like a feature, then that means it's like a podcast or a paid feature, and they're not going to list us. So it doesn't really make sense to try to email them. Great. So let's see how much we've cut our list down. It's gone from 386 to 276, over 100, and it's been about 5 minutes. So from this step, we can try to find emails for these 276 domains. The way I like to do this is a step-by-step process. I want to email the most appropriate person per domain. And if it's a blog post, I want to email the author. And if I can't find the author, I want to email the founder of the blog. Or if it's a bigger company, maybe the marketer for the blog. And then finally, if I can't find that data, I'll resort to the general contact email. Usually this is a very tedious, long process, but with this tool here, it can all be done with a few clicks. So let's start with finding the author. Okay, that took about 5 minutes. And what do we have here? We have our crawler using its algorithm to try to find as many author names as it can. Right? And sometimes it does a good job, and sometimes it picks up junk. But generally, this is a really good first step when it comes to saving some time on your prospecting. Now, you can spend some time and make this this list perfect, but I think I take the pretty good is good enough approach. So I'm going to just confirm this. And as a next step, we're going to find emails. We're going to take the first name, last name, domain name, and we're going to see how many emails we can find. So this is going to process now. And the reason why we broke this down into steps is because none of this stuff is going to be perfect. Prospecting is not a perfect science. Every single website is structured differently, it looks different, and it takes a lot of human intervention. But the problem is a lot of tools require too much human intervention. So the way that we built our software is very simply, most of the actions are automated, but there are checks and balances along the way where you can jump in or somebody on your team can jump in and just eyeball the data, make any potential adjustments, and then hit the go button and allow for more bulk actions. So if you've ever prospected a list of 300, to actually go one by one and find the right, it takes hours, it takes days, it takes time, it takes money. This is taking minutes, and doesn't really feel tedious at all. It's kind of fun actually. It's like a game to see what you can find. So let me pause this while this thing runs. I'll come back to it. So that process yielded us 51 email addresses. Danielle, it's got sources, first name, last name, organization, confidence score. Not bad, not bad. However, there's still plenty of websites that don't have emails. So the next step, we're gonna use our Hunter API, and I'm going to be looking for 10 emails per domain. I'm okay with both personal. Actually, just for the sake of this, why don't we go with personal emails only? And if I cared about a department, which I do, I would say executive and marketing. But for this example, let's go with executive. And if there's no results found, search all. I'm going to include sources in the result. And I only want to do this for URLs that don't have an email, right? So again, that's 200 URLs being processed while I drink my coffee. Let's pause this and wait. And using this, now we have another 66 entries added. Lots of personal names here, various sources. It's good. And now there's still going to be domains that don't have email addresses associated. And because of that, we have one more, and that's a website crawler. This crawler, it identifies the page to crawl in bulk. We're going to do only for URLs that don't have an email. So step one, it finds the contact page, because chances are that's where the email is. And the second step after that is that it's going to crawl the contact page. So let's let that happen and pause. We can see the tools identified a bunch of contact pages. Fantastic. And some that don't make sense, but most of them are good to go. So let's confirm these pages and then crawl each of these to identify their email addresses. So this process now is done, and we've found 120 emails. Some of them you can see are not exactly accurate. And that, will improve this algorithm, but this is also an opportunity to go through and remove things that you don't think are worth even having on the list. I'm going to go ahead and confirm. And the final step, of course, we have to check deliverability of these emails that we scrape. Again, all of this stuff has just happened from one screen, no manual checks yet. Let's pause this and come back. So about 120 emails processed, 34 of them were invalid. Now they're off the list. That gives us 228 emails. And there's going to be, a lot of domains that have multiple emails. So the last step is what we call the email picker. And this is basically where you can use some pre-saved formulas. And this formula says first pick the author finder, and then pick if there's nothing that matches the criteria, you're going to pick something from the Hunter API. But first prioritize someone who's a marketer, and then if that doesn't work, then prioritize someone who's a CEO, as long as the emails are deliverable. And if none of those are a match, then use something from the email crawler, as long as there's deliverability. And if there's nothing that makes sense there, then just default back to Hunter and use any contact that is a personal email. So once you proceed with that, you're going to end up with the best email per domain. So for Alvo Coaching, we have Betsy. For CEO.in, we have editorial. For CB Magazine, we have press release. For Cadmium CD, we have Michael, who is the marketing manager. You can see the value. So export, you can play around with the options. You can prioritize, deprioritize certain types of emails. Like if you have general emails and you want the info and not the sales, you can teach the algorithm on what you're looking for. So what I did is I took that list and I exported it to a Google Sheet, and this gives us a list of emails, and this is our starting point. From here, I would do a final review of the list, and I would start building an outreach campaign. So inside Linkio, I'd go to campaigns, I'd create a new campaign, name it GMAS backlinks. I would start building an outreach sequence. Notice whatever the case is, if you're not sure what to write, we do have an email templates article. For this one, I'm looking for kind of link insertion. So Maybe we'll use one of these just to save time. I think I'm sending this from Stacy. So yeah, that's step one. Maybe we'll email in 3 days. And what we'll do for the next email is we'll keep the same email thread, and we might do a follow-up email. Something like this. So now we've got 2 things here. I also want to import this list that I created into Linkio. So I'm going to create a drip list, and I would call this GMAS backlinks. And why don't we import this prospect list into the app. So I'm going to import from Google Drive. I've got these GMAS backlinks here. The email address is going to be email1, first name, last name. Don't have an organization. Domain name will be domain, position. And we'll add it to this drip list here for GMAS backlinks. So we can let that import. And for GMAS, I'd like to set up the scheduler to email every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard. I want 10 prospects a day emailed from the GMAS backlinks drip list. And the inbox that I'd like to use is Stacy at Linkio. All right, so I've essentially set up my campaign. And if I wanted to see what it would look like, here's an example. I forgot to edit this subtopic in the first email. So let me do that quickly. Let's try that one more time. Hey, Michael, check out blah, blah, blah. And then here's a follow-up. So we can email ourselves this test campaign. And if you like how the email looks, go ahead and start the campaign, and it'll start sending out the emails. It'll show you the progress here over time. Yeah, and the rest of it, once you start getting replies, whatever your process is, this is an easy way to get that outreach pipeline going. So that's a sneak peek of what's to come. First, we're launching this app here, the campaigns module, and then soon after, all that prospecting automation, we'll be launching that as well. Right now, we're doing a redesign, and then we'll be improving this outreach campaigns module soon after that. So for the next couple quarters, this is what you can expect from Linkio. Let me know if you have any questions, ajay@linkio.com. That's my email.